Hey guys, it's Christopher Hinton. And my presentation is over event planning. So before I get started, when I did all my research, this was before the coronavirus was declared a pandemic and everything was shut down and canceled. So some of the information will be reflecting that in this presentation. So to start off, what I'm going to be discussing a little bit is about what event planning is. I will define that. I will go over the characteristics of special events, categories of events, event planning team establishment, planning team responsibilities, common barriers, economic benefits, a little bit about the SEC tournament, security, and also health concerns. So what is event planning? The technical definition is planned special events planned special events include sporting events, concerts, festivals, and conventions occurring at a permanent venue. They also include less frequent public events such as parades, firework displays, bicycle races, sporting games, motorcycle rallies, seasonal festivals, and milestone celebrations at temporary venues. So pretty much anything that you can think of that needs any sort of planning or some sort of venue to occur at is an event. Even a birthday party is an event. So some special characteristics of these special events is their event time of occurrence, event time and duration, event location, area type, the area, the attendance that's expected, the audience, accommodations, and the event type as well. And then we move into the different categories of these events. So with these special events, there are 5 distinct categories. The first is discrete or recurring at a permanent location. You have continuous event, a street use event, regional or multi-venue event, as well as a rural event. So when you get to a street use event, that would be more so like a local fair, or some towns have Christmas parades. That would be a street use event as well. So when it comes to event planning, there is a team establishment. There are 2 ways a planning team can form. Coordination among traffic operation agencies, transit agencies, law enforcement agencies, and event organizers that represent the core planning team stakeholders. And these stakeholders include, which is listed, it includes the traffic operations agencies, law enforcement, transit agencies, event organizers, or venue ops, as well as the media. The second way this team can form is through the designation by a committee on special events within a regional transportation management organization, such as Traffic Incident Management Program. We then move on to the responsibilities of the planning team, and there are 3 main responsibilities that this team has. They must perform a feasibility study, develop a traffic management plan, and evaluate the travel demand management initiatives. So what they have to do with all these, just breaking it down a little bit, they must contribute data, they must give communication needs, and they also must furnish their resources. They may also meet regularly to review program planning efforts for future planned special events. And that's just a way to get ahead of the step and kind of know what you need to do by looking at these past events and looking forward at the same time. Move on to the common barriers, and there's pretty much just 2 common barriers. Those are resource complaints and jurisdictional barriers. So what a resource complaint is, these occur when a lower priority to the event is set by stakeholders. And then when you get to jurisdictional barriers, these occur when multiple stakeholders do not know the duties and responsibilities that they were given. And I'd say out of those 2, the jurisdictional barriers is the more problematic one, just because that is the people who are working the events, and if they don't know their duties, then everything's going to go downhill in that area, causing the other areas to go downhill as well. Some other necessities for events: you need to have a risk assessment, you need to have insurance, you must have crowd management, procedures for security and emergencies. You must have performance, goals and objectives, a permit, and probably the most important thing that you need is communication. Communication is key for any type of planning, whether it be a large event such as March Madness or whether it be a birthday party. You still got to plan that as well with communication. So some economic benefits that I found through special events, and these are all in Milwaukee, I believe. 1.1 billion annual industry nation, or excuse me, $1.1 billion annual through the industry statewide. $2.5 billion annual industry in metropolitan Milwaukee. Over $1 billion generated in state tax revenues, and over $70 million was generated in federal and state transportation revenues. So when you think about it, that is a lot of money coming in that they would not have otherwise if they were not to plan these special events. And without that money, it's going to make it a lot harder for the state to function, plan their budgets, and all that. So now we get to when I kind of started doing my research about a specific event, and I was going to talk about the SEC tournament. So, where it's played at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. And in November 2018, the SEC, they extended their agreement with the Nashville Sports Council to play their tournament inside Bridgestone until 2035, with the exception of 2022, which will be held in Tampa, Florida. The tournament's composed of 14 teams. Tickets are sold by the SEC to the universities, and from there, fans can buy their tickets from the universities, as well as ticket offices who have received these tickets as well by the universities. This tournament is played throughout the span of 5 days and is aired on ESPN and the SEC network. Usually there's multiple sessions per day. When you get to about a third, fourth, fifth day, you usually have a afternoon session and then a nighttime session. So you'll have games played at 12 and 2, and the next games probably won't start until 6 or 8 or 7 and 9. A little bit more about the Bridgestone Arena. It is home to the Nashville Predators. The Predators cannot play their home games during the SEC tournament. And I don't know if they've ever had any conflicts, but this season, I looked at their schedule. The week before the SEC tournament and the week during and the week after, they did not have any home games. And that was to make sure the SEC tournament had time to set everything up, run it smoothly during that week, and take it all down without having any interruptions by the Predators feeling rushed. They also must use a different staff. I could not find specifically what staff or security that the Bridgestone Arena uses for SEC tournament compared to the Predators, but it did say that they used a different staff. One thing they got to do, they also must transform their hockey rink to a basketball court, and this can take anywhere from 90 minutes to a full day. I listed a video or a YouTube link, and that is them transforming I believe it's the Staples Center. They transformed the arena for 6 games in 4 days in 2012. So they transformed it, I believe, from the Lakers to the Clippers to their hockey team, back to the Clippers, back to the hockey team, back to the Lakers, I do believe. So they had to do that 6 times in 4 days, and that's 9 hours, I believe. So that's a lot of time that the staff has to spend on this tedious task. Something else that is major in event planning is security. So there are certain security policies that the SEC uses for their tournament in Nashville. The following items, this is what they listed on their official website. So the following items are not permitted inside Bridgestone Arena. Backpacks and large bags are not permitted. All items brought into Bridgestone Arena are subject to a security search. Bottles or cans are not allowed either, but please note Bridgestone Arena allows one empty water bottle per guest. Food and drink purchased outside is not allowed. You're not allowed to bring in coolers, frisbees or beach balls, laser pointers, and you're also not allowed to bring in noise-making devices, specifically air horns, sirens, and whistles. Notice it doesn't specifically mention the cowbells that Mississippi State has. I don't believe that you normally get these in, but I know at their home games they have them to kind of make more noise and distract the opposing teams whenever they are shooting, have possession of the ball, or shooting the free throw. On slide 14, I have listed a picture kind of what the SEC puts out before their tournaments. I know Kentucky does something similar to this during football season. But this picture, it lists the security policies, and it kind of gives more of a clearer image so that fans who may not be able to interpret what some of these policies mean through words, they can look at this visual aid and kind of get a better feel for what they are prohibited to bring into this arena. So one of the major health concerns, especially this year, has been COVID-19. So as I said, I was conducting all this research and just making a list of things that were shutting down before everything was completely canceled, postponed. So what I had written down, I'd written that the COVID-19 has caused the cancellation of the 2020 BNP Paribas Open, the KHSAA boys and girls tournaments, Serie A and all of Italian sports, the NBA, the Ivy League, Ohio State and Berea College, they went fully online, and then the SEC tournament. This was, I believe, the day before the SEC tournament started is when the SEC put this out. They said, at this time, the SEC plans to implement the following health precautions at Bridgestone Arena, most of which were applied during the SEC women's basketball tournament at Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville last week. Similar preventive measures will be taken at the SEC Gymnastics Championship March 21st in Duluth, Georgia. Moving on. More health concerns. So to kind of counteract, or at least what they thought to counteract this virus, they were going to provide additional hand sanitizers, which would have been present at arena entrances and throughout the concourse, as well as meeting rooms. They were going to use hospital-grade disinfectant to sanitize the locker rooms before teams arrive and upon departure. They were also going to do that between teams using these locker rooms as well. They were going to sanitize the game balls with hospital-grade disinfectant after each practice and game. The team benches plus band and cheerleading seating areas following each game would be sanitized. There would be hand sanitizer, disinfectant wipes, as well as Lysol spray in team locker rooms. Hand sanitizer at the scorer's table, in official locker rooms, and operations offices, and then signage throughout the concourse to provide CDC preventive action recommendations. So that's kind of my presentation. I know it's not a whole lot. It's just a lot of statistics I pulled up from the internet while all of this was going on. One last thing I'd like to mention. I wrote this statistic down on March 9th. And at that time, there were only about 116,000 COVID-19 cases and 4,000 fatalities. And as of today, April 13th, the U.S. alone has over 20,000 cases, or 20,000 deaths related to the COVID-19. So you can just see how rapid that has spread and why declaring it a pandemic and canceling or postponing all of these events was needed. So slide 17 and 18, those are all of my references. So that's about it. I hope you all enjoyed this presentation, and feel free to ask any questions.